Chapter 12, Venn diagrams. You've probably seen Venn diagrams in the past, in some math class or other classes. They're fairly commonplace. Here's a basic one involving two categories. If a survey of Math 10 students was asked, what kind of pet do you have? The results are listed here. This tells us that 3 said they liked a dog, or they had a dog rather. 5 said they liked or had a cat. 7 had both. And then if you think about what this 2 out here means, these are the people who don't have either a dog or a cat. So they don't have a dog and they don't have a cat. So what's interesting about this is if they were asked if they had a dog, then there would be, notice, 10 students would say they had a dog. And if they were asked if they had a cat, there would be 12 students who said they had a cat. That is interesting because if you add up 10 plus 12, you get 22, which has nothing to do with how many people were surveyed or anything else that you'd want to know about this group of people. So when we're given that information, that 10 students said they had a dog, then we need to complete the Venn diagram in order to answer questions like how many had a dog, how many had a cat, how many had both. So let's try another problem that's a little more interesting. A Venn diagram with 3 categories, and this time we're given the results over here and we want to fill out the Venn diagram. So this time we're asked what kind of hobbies do you do, and we're given the choice between reading, crafts, and video games. Alright, and we're told that 13 said they liked to read, 12 liked crafts, 11 liked video games, but 7 liked reading and crafts, 7 liked reading and video games, 5 liked crafts and video games, 3 people liked all 3 activities, and 6 people liked none of them. So the question is, if we need to fill this out, where do we start? Well, one easy place to start is at the bottom. 6 liked none of them. So I know that 6 is not going to go in any of these categories, so I'm just going to pick a place out here and write 6. And those 6 stand for the 6 that don't like any of those activities. But now, if we just start adding this up to answer, let's say, this first question, how many people were surveyed, just like we saw in the 2 category cat-dog diagram, we can't just add the numbers that are given, because if 13 like reading, 7 like reading and crafts, that's going to overlap some people. And likewise, the 3 that like all 3, some of them might be in the reading and crafts, and some of them will be in the reading. So the easiest place to start is the place with the most overlapping, because we're not double counting there. And if you think about where those people go, it's going to be right in the middle where all 3 circles intersect. So I know I've got 3 people in the intersection here. Okay, so now let's move up the diagram, up the list. If 5 like crafts and video games, look for the intersection of crafts and video games. So that's the blue circle and the orange circle. But if we look at the intersection of those, 3 of those 5 people have already been accounted for. So that means I only have, let me write this small, 5 minus the 3 already accounted for. That means I have 2. So I started with the 5, but I've already accounted for 3, and so I have 2 people left. So now, if you add up the people in the intersection of video games and crafts, you're going to have 5. All right, let's do that for the same thing for the 7 who like reading and video games. 7 like reading and video games, so that means in the intersection of the black and the orange circle, I should have 7. But I've already accounted for the 3 who like video games and reading and crafts. So let me take them away from that 7, and that means I've got 4 who like reading and video games, plus the 3 who like reading, video games, and crafts. That'll give me the 7. All right, let's keep moving up. Now I want to put this 7 who like reading and crafts somewhere, but of course for the same reason, reading and crafts, this intersection will have 4 because I've already accounted for the 3 that like reading and crafts here. All right, now let's look at the 11 who like video games. So I'm going to come down to the video game circle and say, all right, I know I have 11 who like video games, but I've already accounted for the 4 who like reading and video games. I've already accounted for the 3 who like reading, video games, and crafts. And I've already accounted for the 2 who like video games and crafts. So the rest in here is 11 minus 4 minus 3 minus 2. That leaves me with 2. All right. Now I want to figure out what goes in the craft circle, the blue circle here. So I know that I had 12 who like crafts, but I've already accounted for the 4 who like reading and crafts. So I'm going to take them out. I've already accounted for the 3 who like reading, crafts, and video games. And I've already accounted for the 2 who like crafts and video games. So this time, I've got 3 who like crafts and not necessarily anything else. All right, and then same idea for the reading. I'm going to come here and start with my 13, but I'm going to take away the 4 and the 4 and the 3 that I've already accounted for elsewhere in the reading circle, and that leaves me with, let's see, 13 minus 3 is 10, minus 8 is 2. All right, now we've got our Venn diagram completely filled out. I'm going to start answering these questions. So how many people were surveyed? Well, let's just start adding them up. I've got 2 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2. That's 18. Plus 2 more is 20. Plus 6 is 26. Now, question 2 says, how many like reading but don't like crafts? So think about where that is. These 2 certainly like reading and don't like crafts, but also notice these 4 like reading but don't like crafts. They're out of the crafts circle, but they are in the reading circle. So that means I have 6 who like reading but don't like crafts. All right, then we ask how many don't like reading. Well, that's anybody outside the reading circle. So not the 2 here, not the 4, not the 3, not the 4, but the rest of them. So that's the 3, 2, and 2, which gives you 7. And a common mistake that I'm making right now is I'm forgetting about the people who are outside any of the circles. So a wrong answer would be 7, but it's a common wrong answer. So it should actually be 13 to account for the people who don't like anything, don't like reading. All right, then the last question, how many like crafts and video games but don't like reading? So they like crafts and they like video games, but they don't like reading. So that's anyone outside the reading circle, but inside the crafts and video game circle. So it's tempting to take the 2, and the 3 and add them together, but the key word is and. They like crafts and video games. It's only these 2 who like crafts and video games, but they don't like reading. So the answer here would be 2. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for Venn diagrams, but catch me on Discord if you have any questions as you work through the problem.